Alright, it's part two, Beauty and the Beast time. Time index is 149. So the 22nd, Monday, August 2022, we were trying to see emotionally deprived, sleep deprived zombie Roseman. There we go. Talking about a lot of things about my life, my youth, and the previous recording and the log, and how I'm doing with this one, dealing with Beauty and the Beast, and analyzing it and figuring out how the damn thing affects me and not. There's been a lot of things affecting me about it, and the story starts out with this kid sort of been spoiled like crazy, but his family had to die off, probably, in the story premise. Kid's got no family, no mother, no father, a lot of servants trying to help him along, growing up to be a mature kid. And yet, because he is of quote unquote royalty, all the traditions happening, and the old Europe laws regarding loyalty and royalty at this point over here. The kid's growing up to be a pain in the ass. And when he's supposed to be like a young teenager or something like that, and he sees this old lady coming over here asking for help, maybe the kid wasn't growing up to be the part to be a loving son of a loving human being during that time, and maybe he was a spoiled brat during that time. Maybe he didn't understand what love was all about. Being an emotionally disturbed kid and being so far out of being human, of understanding what empathy and compassion was, without having it demonstrated or him being raised under that. So one to probably understand how it could be towards an old woman who's seeking help from his castle, and he's becoming a pain in the ass about it. And he sees nothing about this one because he hasn't had the experience. He hadn't had the experience of growth, of maturity, because he hadn't had enough of the maturity around him to help him grow into a human being, a functional human being. Maybe someone who can actually care for the land around him. Nobody else to help him out with this. I mean, the person who was writing the story at this point over here sure didn't give out a good backstory in this guy. I mean, it's just probably didn't think about far enough about the backstories of the characters necessary in order to give it a more believable storyline for this one. And I don't know, it's just kind of bothered me a little bit every once in a great while. I didn't think of it all that time, but when I was thinking about it right now, it's like more and more it's starting to piss me off on that story. Okay, so now you got an emotionally disturbed, screwed up kid who didn't have what he should have in order to be empathetic towards this old woman. And she had to go to the kid for some other reason. Now, this is the other thing I'm still trying to figure out. This is why backstories are needed for characters, because you need to understand the reasons why they're doing it so you don't have to judge these people that much. But without the backstory, you haven't got anything to work with. You just got assumptions at this point. Basing this is like critical thinking. This is like critical thinking in literature. Okay, we're going to be doing that way with fantasy characters. So you're dealing with the backstory of the prince, whatever the hell he was, and he had matured. He was a teenager or a bit of a kid mentality. I understand about the kid mentality. I understand about the lack of maturity. Because growing up in an environment similar to that, similar, one parent, but not really supportive when it comes down for girlfriend or relationship like that. Just out of the league. Sorry, I got itches going on like crazy. So, comparing my life to his, maybe I would have been in his situation. The thing is, when it came down for dealing with the elderly and mature, I was surrounded by that. I was surrounded by that. A grandmother and a great aunt. And I loved them both so much on that one. So that wouldn't have been a problem right there. If I had something like an enchantress coming over in the form of an elderly lady, and I already had some maturity during that time to really say, okay, be polite to them or something of that nature, or even after dealing with grandma's death in the 80s, and I'm still a maturing teenager during that time, maybe I would have had a lot more respect for the elderly as well. And I thought I did. And dealing with the veterans at a VA hospital, dealing with the veteran soldiers of World War II and Korea, it was just, or World War I, it was just something. Because I was dealing with the elderly at that point. But being a smartass and still looking for my own damn life, I did fire back at one guy who was giving me a chance for work, and I failed. Ma had to back it up and get me some work. Same company. Should have been somewhere else. But it wasn't, so it was there. And I had to learn the hard way on how to be respectful for everybody, including the owner over there. I had to. Regardless of what they were still the elders, and I had to be respectful. That was it. I had to learn it the hard way. So that matter, in a little bit of a way, I did go through the Beauty and the Beast situation right there. But not their relationships or anything else, but just how to deal with the elderly better. People more mature. So, show people a lot more respect. So if I actually had that enchantress coming into my life, what would I have done during that time? Would I have been in a situation to say to this one, you know, what can I do? I was not rich, didn't have my own castle, didn't have anything. It's just me. But since I can't put myself in that kind of situation at this point over here, probably, I don't know. But looking at the situation regarding the Beauty and the Beast situation, I thought that was really screwed up. Enchantress comes over to the kid. What was she expecting? If she heard stories about this kid, was she going in to investigate him? For what reason? What was her motivation? To be a pain in the ass to him? And then when he treated her badly, then she reveals himself to be a beautiful woman, and then he goes crazy. What did he expect? What did she expect? She should have done her homework. She should have done her homework, and she didn't. But the final piece of her homework was this kid wasn't so hot. All she could have done was just leave it alone. No. Because what was going on in the writer's head at this point over here is we have to torture the kid. We have to put him through more torture than what he was going through right now. I mean, yeah, he was a spoiled brat because he didn't have the adults to adult him, to get him mature, to discipline him. Nothing like that. And they had the discipline back then, but they just didn't. This was supposed to be a cute fantasy story. So, as you know, the guy got turned into a beast. She disappears, but she gives the guy a rose. And after the rose dies, he's got no more chances. He's stuck as a beast. And that's it. He's Fubar. Forever he'll be a beast. Because he was a beast at heart, he's going to show his others. With no way of redemption, huh? Until we have the beauty coming in and then redeems the guy, and then there are princes all over. He's a prince, and everything else is shining, and everything is good. But I tell you something, if I was a damn lawyer during that time, I'd grill them both. I'd grill them both in a damn court system. Yeah, maybe. But as I look at myself these days, am I a beast or am I a whale on the beach? Would I still have the capacity to love? Well, as much as I'm grieving left and right these days. I feel more of the pain these days. I'd feel more of the pain these days instead of sharing that love with somebody else that I should have. Because I feel like I screwed myself over so many times regarding the academia. I should have also been kicking myself in the pants for not being mature enough to even pursue a relationship of any sort. I mean, hell, there was no way that goddess of mine that I had an idea and an image in my head would be coming back to be with me and deal with reality. And it's kind of hard because I still hold in that memory. And it's a good memory. I had a good dream about her, too. And I don't want to lose on that one. I just want to hold on to that one. The only better things in my time as a kid during it was having somebody I could fall in love with. And I don't want to lose that for anything. But the thing is, I wasn't in love with anybody else afterwards. I mean, despite the fact I had girlfriends, but not one with a maturity level that I can actually fall in love with. Or I was in a mature enough level to fall in love with. One tried. One tried. And unfortunately, I wasn't in that category with her. There had to be some kind of spark between a man and woman, or even the kids, to really develop into that kind of situation. Now, even though this is a childhood thing I've got, and I'm still going to keep that memory, and I'm still going to keep that thing in the back of my head and in my heart in this one. Maybe it'll spark something up in me a little later. I don't know. Was I in love with my mother? Yeah, I guess she was my mother. I was in love with my brother. My brother and I were inseparable. Most occasions, anyway. And growing up and being mature adults, two old men. Two old men still sometimes fighting against each other, but we still watched each other's ass. We became our own band of brothers. And I missed the living crap out of them. But I know I still have to look forward in my declining years. That ass going to be, see, gray and withering at this point over here. The youth are not going to look at me. They'll look at me and laugh at me, one way or another. Or feel pity or sorrow, because I am what I am right now as it is. A guy who's a sweltering pig at this point over here. But the thing is, I'm not a pig. I'm not even a whale. I know whales are mysterious. And pigs are supposed to be intelligent. And I don't usually eat everything in front of me either. But maturity wise, I'm still trying to work on that with myself. I'm still trying to figure out how mature I am these days. I used to be a kid at heart. I feel like a tired old man. I used to have youthful energy. And I discovered how life sucks it out of you sometimes. And you have to deal with whatever's in front of you. Of course, people don't like it, but shit happens. You have to deal with it. I have to deal with it. I have to be functional. Screws me over left and right. Right now, I gotta sleep. Rest the old carcass. See what happens for Monday morning. Buenas noches, you guys. Log off.